News Now is brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, Docomo Pacific, island-wide, worldwide, the choice is clear. From the Pacific News Center in Hagåtña, Guam, here's Clint Rigel and Janella Carrera with Betsy Brown and Roselle Romanes. PNC Sports with Blake Watson. And weather with Joanna O. With your news now.
Hafa, good evening and welcome to the Pacific News Center. I'm Clint Rigel. Thanks for tuning in. Topping your news tonight, a car crashed into the Pizza Hut in Manila this morning. There were no injuries reported, but the crash did draw a lot of attention. Shortly before lunchtime, the silver Toyota Corolla crashed into the Pizza Hut in Manila. A woman at the scene named Rita Benaventi told PNC the driver was her father, an elderly man who she did not want to name. According to Benaventi, her father was trying to park when he bumped into a vehicle and then panicked and stepped on the gas pedal instead of stepping on the brakes, causing the car to careen headfirst into the glassed window and doors of the Pizza Hut in Manila. Benaventi told us that there were no injuries and that her father was treated by medics at the scene and released. And another news, Governor Eddie Baza Calvo is urging senators to quit playing politics and leave the Hay recommended raises for elected and appointed officials alone.
Governor Eddie Calvo says his stance on the Hay recommended raises for all GovGuam employees, including himself, the lieutenant governor, cabinet members, and lawmakers, has remained the same, that these raises are deserved.
We hired out an actuarial company, the Hay Group, working in collaboration with the Department of Administration, Human Resources, coming up with a plan dealing with elected and appointed officials, classified and unclassified. I presented that plan, I endorsed it, and we requested that the legislature do not tinker around with it.
The governor says that unfortunately, politics has resulted in a lot of tinkering with the plan. For example, he says the controller of DOE, who he points out is a member of the Democratic Party of Guam, actually makes $20,000 more than he does. But he says no one is complaining about her salary.
So I'm wondering what the motives are of the Democratic leadership and the authors of these bills. One thing is, though I may disagree with tinkering with it, I also understand that they must respect, I will respect the legislature in what they do within their house.
But he asks the legislature to leave his lieutenant governor and cabinet members alone because their raises are based on the Hay plan that was not created by himself or the legislature, a Hay plan that in fact was completed before he even became governor. In fact, he delayed the implementation of all the Hay recommended raises when he first became governor because GovGuam couldn't afford it. Now he says GovGuam can.
God bless, Mr. Bynum. He's a teacher, but there's many general line workers in GovGuam agencies and directors and both classified, unclassified, appointed, or elected. That there has not been an adjustment in 20 years. Mr. Bynum had a pay increase several years ago through a legislative action that raised teachers' pay.
And Governor Calvo says that he's hoping that everyone can look past the politics and look at each position and its responsibilities, as was done by the Hay Group when it was hired by GovGuam to make recommendations for GovGuam's pay scale. There isn't much time left for the governor to act on a bill governing the standards for professional conduct of the island's educators, and he's getting pressure from both sides. PNC's Betsy Brown has more on what this bill means for the island's teachers.
With the clock ticking for the governor to act on Bill 420, some are asking him to sign the measure, while others are begging for a veto. The bill sets the rules governing the standards of professional conduct for educators, something Guam Commission for Educators Certification Director Lea Santos says is long overdue.
Any other profession on the island, doctors, nurses, dentists, construction companies, if you misbehave or do not so good things, you can be your license can be suspended, or if it's super bad, then it becomes revoked. That portion has been missing in the teacher certification process since the beginning.
But how do you define moral behavior? The Guam Federation of Teachers says the bill's language is too vague, and they want the governor to veto the measure.
What if someone doesn't like a teacher who's a homosexual, right? Is that going to be a problem? I mean, it's very scary language. I think this bill should be vetoed.
Even Santos admits immoral behavior is difficult to define.
You know, it is not possible for us to itemize exactly what misconduct is. Though the language there was taken from, we did a massive research in other jurisdictions in the United States, and we did not invent them, we took them from other jurisdictions.
But GFT President Tim Fedenko says the language has been a problem for teachers in other jurisdictions.
We've heard cases where teachers who are modeling swimming suits in magazines losing their certification and they're ending their career. Even doing this in the summertime when they're not teaching, because the community felt that that was immoral.
Fedenko points out that even the Guam Education Board, the Teachers Association, and the superintendent have voiced concerns with the bill. And while everyone might agree that some standards are necessary, he'd like another public hearing to be held on the bill at a time when teachers aren't on summer or winter break.
And then take it back to the table and draft and be specific. What is the conduct you do not want, right? What is the standards teachers have to adhere to in the community so they know?
If you are a student riding bus number 72, an employee of a Department of Public Works, or if you've had jury duty at the Superior Court of Guam, you may have been exposed to tuberculosis. Public Health is working hard to identify all the close contacts to an active case of TB. According to a news release, all identified contacts recommended to undergo TB screening will be notified by letter. Public Health says symptoms of the disease include a bad cough that lasts longer than 2 weeks, coughing up bloody phlegm, weakness or fatigue, chills, weight loss, fever, and night sweats. However, it takes anywhere from 2 to 12 weeks for these symptoms to occur. A free PPD skin test will be provided beginning January the 5th to all identified contacts from DPW, the Superior Court of Guam's jury unit, and jurors and student riders on bus number 72 from the following schools: Daniel L. Perez Elementary School, Upi Elementary School, Machanao Elementary School, F.B. Leon Guerrero Middle School, and Simon Sanchez High School. Those who do not complete the required TB skin test will be excluded from work, jury duty, or school until the TB skin test has been completed. For more information, call Public Health's TB Control Program at 735-7145. The Guam Memorial Hospital has added 50 more positions to its list of job vacancies for the new fiscal year. The latest staffing pattern indicates that the hospital is seeking more than 200 employees. GMH Administrator Joseph Verga says most of those vacancies are for nurses. PNC's Rizal Romanes has more in this report.
The island's only public hospital is seeking a bigger staff. In fact, GMH's website lists 229 vacancies, with 55 of those positions added for the new fiscal year. However, GMH Administrator Joseph Verga says that number is misleading and that the hospital is only short about 100 full-time employees.
Some of those positions, because of the way they've been recorded historically, are a little misleading because they include part-time positions in all things like finance, patient registration, housekeeping, FM, those type of places.
GMH currently employs about 1,020 full-time employees, but Vergas says the hospital is always in recruitment mode and their staffing pattern is a work in progress.
Most of those vacancies are actually the majority of them come in the nursing department because there's such a steady turnover. So what we try to do is take an experienced nurse, rotate them through the needy places like ICUs where there's a high turnover, because there's a 1-to-2 ratio only in the ICU. and because those patients are very intensely sick.
Verga explains that most of the job vacancies are for nurses that specialize in places like the operation room, emergency room, and intensive care unit. He says hiring for those nursing positions is a dynamic process because training usually takes 6 months or more.
We fill and don't fill based on revenue projections and things of that nature. We're always in recruitment mode, but I'm delighted that we will have a full-time pathologist again.
Following Dr. Muhammad Al-Saban's resignation as the hospital's pathologist in August, Verga says former GMH pathologist Dr. Philip Dotterman has been filling in when needed since October. Verga is happy to announce that a new pathologist will be coming on board at GMH on January 12. He adds for the first time in years, the hospital will have a full staff of trauma surgeons by March.
So we're really focused on the new services, the quality, the quality initiatives that we've implemented.
Verga says he doesn't like losing his experienced staff for any reason. That includes moving to the Guam Regional Medical City.
We have had staff leave to go to the new hospital. The majority of folks that do leave for personal reasons. Either they go back to the mainland, family reasons, and I do take it very seriously when someone wants to leave because, we do invest a lot of time, effort, and money training folks.
For the list of GMH vacancies, a link to their website can be found at pacificnewscenter.com. Rosel Romanes, PNC News.
All right, thanks for that report, Rosel. Let's check in now with PNC's Paulie Suba to see what he's got going on in the world of sports.
Happy New Year's Eve! Ready for some fireworks? Well, I've got you basketball highlight fireworks coming up real soon.